the shark has evolved over the past 400 million years was natural hunting on shallow beach. Camouflage and not being seen in the first place, and I got to dive with grey nurse sharks soon after. The ocean is home to some extraordinary creatures. Amongst them, the shark has evolved over the last 400 million years to be the apex predator. I'm Rob Carraro, the founder of FADER Wetsuits. A lifetime of fascination with the ocean led me to learn to scuba dive in the 80s, and I got to dive with grey nurse sharks soon after. It led me to becoming a dive master and then an instructor, and going to university to study marine biology in the late 90s. The 2 years honours project into wobbegongs taught me a lot about shark vision, and that much of the accepted scientific knowledge was based on outdated concepts and misunderstood behaviours. This was followed by further wobbegong research for New South Wales DPI and tagging grey nurse sharks underwater. So what we've got, actually I think I'll put glasses on for this. It makes me look more scientific. What we've got here is we've got a shark coming out of the white water. This was on the helicopter surveys up at Port Stephens. He's coming around and he's going to have a go at these fish. What we're seeing is a very different swimming action. Most of the sharks we saw were just doing a slow cruise on the surface. This one is purposeful. This is foraging behaviour and foraging swimming. He's going to line up on these fish. The fish have got no idea he's there, and he's going to do something else. He's actually going to wait for the wave to come through, and he's going to catch this next wave, couple of kicks, gets up to full speed, and then he bails out for some reason. That's the distance that the great whites will close their eyes and fully commit. They're waiting for the fish to strike their mouth, and then they will slam their mouth shut. They go in blind, which is another reason why the sharks will sometimes hit the surfboard instead of the surfer's leg. They're aiming for the leg, they just miss because they've closed their eyes at 4 meters away. It took us a little bit of time to figure out exactly what had spooked the shark. And what's happening is, if you imagine midwater fish, a lot of them are silver. They're silver to reflect the light around them. All of the other parameters, hearing, smell, water movement, everything should have said that the fish are still there, but because the fish angle varied slightly and copied the water better, the fish disappeared. So that shark relied on vision to abort the run, meaning that vision is the key to begin the run in the first place. When I was offered the opportunity to coordinate helicopter surveys for juvenile great white shark, the UTS and CSIRO, I went in with an open mind that what was generally accepted behaviour of whites was based on cage diving and burleying shark to bring them in, and might not be true. What we saw on the helicopter surveys was natural hunting on shallow beaches, and it showed clearly that although all senses play their part, vision was the critical and final trigger before a great white initiated a high-speed attack run at fish. On our camera trap setups, we often had a pole with our camouflage and our control a bait bag. What's happened with this setup is they've slid up a little bit closer together than we would have liked. So the shark coming up from behind only sees the bait bag until it gets level with our camouflage print that has something on it that we think the shark would choose not to bite. We thought that was the shark seeing our pattern that they would choose not to bite and avoiding it. When we saw that, we thought, that's it, we've got it. Yes, the scare off pattern worked and it never actually failed, but we think the camouflage and not being seen in the first place is a much better method of avoiding attacks. These observations, an attack in the local area in which the visual trigger of a girl falling off a wakeboard, convinced us that vision was the key to avoiding attacks. We thought if we could negate the visual high contrast of the surfer in a black wetsuit on a white surfboard, then the attack would simply not happen. The shark view FADER concepts were born, then developed, tested and finally perfected over the next 10 years. So we started off with this sort of dairy cow type pattern, very dark, and then we tested it. We tested it and we found out that it had to get lighter. It went lighter and lighter. We got to the point where we thought it can't get any more lighter, and then it did. We kept going until we got to this point here, and once we got to this set of contrasts, we couldn't get it any better. That set of contrasts formed the base, and then we started testing for colors and other variables. What we found was the colors were not as critical as the contrast. The contrast and that slow contrast gradient shifting shapes mimics what light does underwater, and that's what makes the wetsuit camouflage so revolutionary and so effective. Surfboards use a perforated reflective film. We developed this pattern in it to give it a sense of depth. We can't just have a mirror because that forms a block colour. By having a variation in the reflection, it mimics what light does underwater with the different water movements and shapes. So what it gives is a sense of depth to the surfboard. Sitting on the surface, looking from underneath, what we see is the water reflected with this distortion at a reciprocal angle. So we are going to see the water that's reflected there. A shark from underneath is going to see the water that's over there. We tested these boards, but we stopped doing it after a couple of months because we couldn't get the sharks to pay any attention to the boards. These boards will virtually disappear in 2 to 3 meters of water. As a photographer or a diver, if you want to get close to marine life, then the non-threatening aspect of looking like you belong in the ocean and not an intruder will allow for closer and better interactions. The concept is simple but effective. If you're not able to be seen, you won't be approached and you won't be feared. I'm Rob Carraro, the founder of FADER Wetsuits.